Bonjour, bien retrouvés à la deuxième session de la conférence de la COPEAM. Nous allons dédier cet après-midi aux bonnes pratiques provenant de notre réseau et au-delà. Nous allons commencer avec France Télévisions et la programmation interreligieuse du dimanche matin, puis avec l'Union pour la Méditerranée et les deux universités euro-méditerranéennes EMUNI et l'université Euromed de Fès, et encore avec l'UR, l'Union européenne de radio-télévision, et la participation des radios membres de l'UR à la Journée mondiale pour la diversité culturelle, pour les dialogues et le développement. Enfin, nous allons conclure avec deux séries animées présentées par la télévision pour enfants d'Argentine, PakaPaka, qui fait partie du réseau TAL, Télévision de Latine-Amérique. Et nous allons aussi conclure avec le magazine télé Mediterraneo proposé par la Rai-Radiotelevisione Italiana qui aujourd'hui nous accueille ici à la Sala degli Arazzi. Merci beaucoup. Alors, pour ce qui est de France Télévisions, en tant que créateur de liens et de valeurs comme service public national, il programme le dimanche matin des émissions à caractère religieux consacrées aux principaux cultes pratiqués en France. Donc, entre 8h30 et 12h du matin, les chemins de la foi sur France 2 donnent voix aux différentes expressions présentes en France, du bouddhisme à l'islam, au culte juif et des chrétiens orientaux et orthodoxes, aux protestants, jusqu'à la messe catholique de midi. De plus, deux émissions spéciales sont diffusées au long de l'année à l'occasion de célébrations importantes telles que le Ramadan, la journée du souvenir des victimes de la Shoah ou les Pâques et Noël. Enfin, des émissions écuméniques et interreligieuses promouvant les dialogues entre les diverses confessions autour de grandes thématiques comme l'égalité homme-femme, la science, la laïcité, etc. Alors, regardons ensemble un collage de ces émissions de France Télévisions. Merci.
Le dimanche matin, cette émission parle de spiritualité et de culture. Pour comprendre, pour s'élever, pour partager. Nos différences se rassemblent sur les chemins de la foi tous les dimanches dès 8h30 sur France 2.
Nous passons à l'Union pour la Méditerranée, qui a soutenu la création de deux universités euro-méditerranéennes, en Slovénie avec EMUNI et au Maroc avec l'université Euromed de Fès, et avec l'objectif de forger une vision régionale unique et ouverte auprès de jeunes générations. Les deux universités visent à promouvoir les dialogues régionaux, le partage des connaissances et les échanges interculturels dans les domaines de l'enseignement supérieur, de la recherche et de l'innovation. Je laisse donc la parole à Isabelle Pardillos, qui est la responsable de l'unité de communication et affaires publiques à l'UPM. Please, Isabelle, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Paola, for the introduction. It's a pleasure being in your annual conference. And let me share the screen. Let's see if I can. It looks like I cannot. Let's see once again. I think I'm having a trouble. Let me, don't say.
De petits problèmes techniques. On va juste résoudre le problème en quelques secondes.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's it. Can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, let's go for it then. Wow, I think I'm having a bug. It's weird because I've been rehearsing the technical test. I'm not sure what's happening in the PowerPoint. Otherwise, I'll just do the presentation if I'm in trouble.
We are sorry because in our technical test everything was okay, but this is the surprise effect of the live speech on the internet.
Yeah.
So Isabel, if you prefer, we can go on with the following best practice in order to let you organize your slides and your connection.
Yeah, maybe it's better.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah,
so I will go. I will go on.
I will restart my computer then in case there's an issue with the computer in the meantime.
So I'll give you the floor. I'll give you the floor in the next 5 minutes. On va maintenant parler de la bonne pratique présentée par l'UR, l'Union européenne de radio-télévision, qui, à l'occasion de la Journée mondiale de l'UNESCO pour la promotion de la diversité culturelle pour le dialogue et le développement, a impliqué 45 chaînes de radio publiques de toute la planète pour partager la culture et encourager la créativité. Des artistes du monde entier se sont joints à cette initiative avec leurs performances, des musiciens, chanteurs, chefs d'orchestre, etc., mais aussi à travers de brèves interviews sur la thématique promue qui ont été diffusées via les réseaux sociaux. Nous allons donc écouter quelques-uns de ces témoignages. Vous pouvez lancer la vidéo? Oui, oui.
As a human being, I reflect my cultural experience in almost everything I do. And as an opera singer, I stand on stage and don't only perform, but interpret what I want to say using my whole being that has been shaped in different parts of the world by different people I've encountered and experiences I've gone through during the course of my lifetime. I truly believe that the more diversity we bring to the stage as a group, the more facets we bring to our music. And with this diversity comes the limitless possibilities for our very individual interpretations of the music we present. Music is the strongest uniting force that encourages, comforts, and connects us all. The World Day for Cultural Diversity for Dialogue and Development is a celebration I am very honored to be part of as a member of the global music community.
Le meilleur chemin pour comprendre des cultures lointaines et pour comprendre qu'est-ce que c'est le dialogue interculturel, je pense que c'est la musique. La musique nous parle sans aucune nécessité de comprendre le langage, elle nous parle directement au cœur. Et comme la musique, avec la musique, on ne peut pas mentir. Vous êtes sûr qu'en entendant une chanson, en entendant une belle mélodie de n'importe quelle culture, vous comprendrez facilement l'âme et la beauté de cette culture. Laissez-vous porter par la musique.
Hello, I'm Max Richter. I'm really happy to be able to support the UNESCO World Day for Cultural Diversity. We live in a very multifaceted and complex and often divided world, and I think we're very lucky to have the creative arts, music, literature, as ways to speak across barriers, across boundaries, across different communities, to communicate the fundamental human things that we all share. So please enjoy the music.
Ok, donc on va essayer encore de montrer les diapositives de Madame Pardillos de l'UPM. Isabelle, please take the floor again and try to show. Otherwise, we will show your video contribution, and you will explain without slides what you are going to show. But I see that everything works well now.
Yeah,
okay?
I think that works. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you. Thank you, Isabel.
Sorry about it before. As I said, it's a pleasure being with you today in your annual conference. I'm going to explain very briefly how the Union for the Mediterranean promotes intercultural dialogue in higher education, and more concretely through the story of the 2 Euro-Mediterranean universities whose creation is being supported by the UFM. Just a quick reminder, the UFN gathers the European Union member states and 15 countries from the southern and eastern shores of the Mediterranean, with the mission of promoting dialogue and regional cooperation projects. So let's put the region in context first. The Euro-Mediterranean region hosts one of the youngest populations in the world. Actually, there's 40% of the population under the age of 25 in some areas, which has contributed to create a large university student population of over 33 million students. As you can consider, regional cooperation in the field of higher education plays an essential role as a vehicle, not only to promote intercultural dialogue and tolerance, but also to increase employability and ultimately prevent extremism. The vision of I was saying, and as Paula was presenting at the beginning, there's 2 Euro-Mediterranean universities, one located in the northern shore of the Mediterranean, which is EMUNI, and the other located in the south, which is the Euromed University of Fez. Their vision is to forge new generation of students, future workers, but what's more important, people with a unique Euro-Mediterranean vision, a vision that embraces diversity, tolerance, open minds. And they do so by promoting academic mobility, knowledge sharing, and intercultural exchanges. Let's go with the first one, which is the EMUNI University, located in Piran, in Slovenia. EMUNI University is not a conventional university. It operates in partnership with a network of 130 universities from 30 countries from the region. How do they operate together? They share knowledge, best practices, and also promote mobility experiences among students, teachers, and researchers. They also organize annual gatherings, bringing together all these actors in order to reflect on key topics of the region. So for instance, the topic of last year was higher education in the post-COVID era, but the topics of previous years have been youth mobility and employability, migration, diaspora, and brain circulation. EMUNI offers postgraduate programs in areas of relevance for the Euro-Mediterranean region. And one example related to the topic we're discussing today is the Master in Intercultural Business Communication, which helps companies and nonprofit organizations to implement programs for the mutual understanding of the different nationalities of the staff in those organizations. EMUNI also offers professional diplomas and summer school courses, bringing together students from across the region. It's a reference university also when it comes to conducting research and regional cooperation, as it implements projects funded by, for instance, the European Union. As a matter of example, I would say the university is currently working on the implementation of the project Involved, which focuses on the integration of the Sustainable Development Goal in universities, and more notably regarding the climate action that the university, climate action activities that the universities can put in place. There's another publication very interesting of this university is the International Journal of Euro-Mediterranean Studies, which is an open and peer-reviewed journal for the study of the Euro-Mediterranean region. So it aims to promote the understanding of the realities and ideas of the region, and thereby developing scholarly capital and improving intercultural and understanding among scholars. Let's go to the second one, which is actually the the Euro-Mediterranean University of Fez, located in Morocco. The regional approach of this university is reflected in the diversity of the nationalities of its students and staff. Also on the study programs with focus on topics important for the region, such as engineering, humanities, and social sciences. There you have the university in figures. I would like to highlight the fact that almost half of the teaching staff come from 15 different nationalities. And also 80% of the students participate in mobility experiences abroad, thereby promoting intercultural exchange. I would also like to emphasize the multilingualism of this university and the multiculturalism, as they offer courses also in intercultural dialogue, history, civilizations, and the common heritage of the Euromed space. Another interesting pillar of this university is the partnerships that they have with some other outstanding universities and research centers from across the region, with a view of establishing joint accredited degrees, and creating mobility experiences, also internship opportunities in companies from across the region. So the mobility is one key aspect of their business model, let's say. I would like to also, and with your permission, briefly guide you through an interesting initiative that's been actually being implemented also by these two universities, which is the Day of the Mediterranean, the newly created Day of the Mediterranean. It was declared, it's an international day. It was declared last year by the 42 member states of the Union for the Mediterranean, and it's to be observed every 28th of November, with the objective to foster a common Mediterranean identity, embrace diversity, and really strengthen ties across the region. It was declared in a ministerial meeting last November, and the date of the 28th of November was decided because it's the anniversary of the Barcelona Conference in 1995, which was actually the kickoff for the structured Euro-Mediterranean relations for cooperation. So this day promotes a unique momentum to showcase cooperation initiatives, promote culture, common heritage, foster intercultural exchanges, debates, etc. We are encouraging from the Secretariat to all actors, and including the media, but not also like in the media, universities, museums, cultural institutes, organizations that work on regional cooperation, to take ownership of this day and organize activities to really, like, examples of activities can be open days, organization of cultural events, festivals, exhibitions, debates and roundtables, launch of cooperation initiatives. The idea is to focus on what unites us in the region rather than what divides us. As the Secretariat for this first edition, that will take place actually in a month's time, 28th of November, we will be organizing a presentation and a debate on the state of play of the regional integration, which is actually a study that's been conducted by the OECD. So we will also organize a meeting of ministers of foreign affairs. You'll see that there is a common hashtag, Mediterranean Day. There's a website, an agenda of activities across the region organized by all these actors. And there is an official logo, branding materials, audiovisual footage. I would like to very briefly project this video that it relates to a campaign that we've launched called Mediterranean in One Word. So the campaign, we're asking citizens to reflect on the identity of a Mediterranean identity, and really focus, as I said before, in what unites us, focus on our similarities, and ask them, what is the Mediterranean in one word? Here you will see the video of the campaign. We have asked some personalities from all sectors of society, so musicians, scientists, politicians, explorers, to define the Mediterranean, in one word. And this is what they
El Mediterráneo, en una palabra, para mí es luz.
So when I think about the Mediterranean, I think about food.
En un mot, je dirais solidarité.
Si je devais mettre un mot, c'est la lumière.
أنا أختار كلمة الهدوء.
La Méditerranée, dans un mot, c'est la civilisation.
Mosaic. A mosaic floor is a bit of a miracle. It tells a story. So I see that very much as being an integral part of our Mediterranean Sea.
La Méditerranée, c'est le temps. La Méditerranée, c'est le passé, c'est le présent, mais c'est surtout l'avenir.
Pour moi, la Méditerranée, en un mot, c'est le centre de la Terre.
Je dis le mot partage.
So that's actually, I would like to invite you and all, like, especially this is televisions, public televisions from COPEAM network to maybe report on this day, this next 28th of November. Next edition, or even the editions to come in the next years, maybe devote part of the content to the content of the TV shows, to report on Mediterranean affairs, on, as I said before, and this is the key word, no, and to report on our similarities, on what unites us. Maybe we can launch, you can provide visibility to the campaign and invite citizens to really reflect on this. For instance, we will be launching the METSE program on the 28th of November. So most of you might be aware of it. And voila, there you have my contact details. If you want to have more information, feel free to contact me and I will be happy to provide you with. Thanks a lot for your attention.
Thank you, Isabelle. Merci beaucoup. Donc, je profite, comme Isabelle l'a déjà annoncé, pour ajouter à ces informations sur la journée de la Méditerranée, qui est justement une initiative lancée par l'Union pour la Méditerranée, et que la COPEAM commencera à contribuer à cette initiative déjà avec une interview exclusive au secrétaire général de l'UPM. Et dans le cadre d'un nouveau programme radio et multimédia appelé MESE, que la COPEAM est en train de lancer en partenariat avec Radio France. Donc, on publiera sur notre site, sur nos réseaux sociaux, les détails de cette interview. Et donc, je continuerai maintenant avec le témoignage de l'UNESCO. Ce matin, nous avons eu l'honneur d'avoir parmi les majeurs intervenants à notre conférence annuelle Madame Gabriela Ramos, et la vice-directrice générale de l'UNESCO, qui nous a parlé, entre autres, des compétences interculturelles. Donc maintenant, Madame Joyce Monteiro, de la section Inclusion, Droit et Dialogue de la Direction Sciences Humaines et Sociales, va nous expliquer la méthodologie afférente au développement de ces compétences interculturelles. Donc, dear Joyce, please, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I will share also my screen. I hope it says that I'm disabled to share the screen. If you can just try to, I will try again. Okay, it's working now. Let me just share my options. I hope that you are seeing now. I'm going to talk about the story circles methodology. Thank you very much, COPEAM, for this invitation. I think this is a very important event in a very timely moment. It's needed more than ever to discuss about the role of media for fostering interreligious dialogue and the intercultural dialogue, and to create social cohesion in societies. Let me say, I think many of you know that UNESCO has a very beautiful mandate that is to build peace in the minds of women and men. So you can imagine that with this idea, intercultural dialogue is at the heart of this mandate, because we cannot have sustainable societies if we don't have the respect of cultural diversity and of human rights. And through the provision of accessible and engaging resources, UNESCO is fostering intercultural competencies. And we are developing individual and institutional capacities to build mutual understanding as a means of overcoming conflict, sustaining peace, and contributing to inclusive development. This is exactly the spirit of this methodology that's called story circles. Let me just also remind you that UNESCO is the head agency in the United Nations systems of the International Decade for the Rapprochement of Cultures that is going to end next year. And it was in this context that in 2013, we launched a publication about the conceptual operational framework of the intercultural competencies. And when we launched this publication, we saw that even though we have a lot of good ideas and concepts about intercultural competencies, there was missing really a tangible tool that could help people to develop in a very simple way these very important skills. And this is why we requested Dala Diadorf, that is an intercultural expert in intercultural education of Duke University, to develop the story circles. She was inspired by the indigenous traditions of using a circle process to overcome difference and build community. And she created this very, very simple methodology that can be adapted to different settings, and at the same time it's very flexible, so it can allows for people to have their local ownership. But I think the video that we created to give visibility to this methodology can explain very well the idea behind of it. So I will display the video.
In a world that is increasingly connected, we meet and interact in our daily life with different cultures. Think about a person who does a great job connecting with different people. Maybe this is a neighbour, a family member, a colleague, a famous person. What is it about that person that helps them connect so well with persons of different ages, genders, and religions?
Chances are they have certain skills and attitudes that help them do so, such as open-mindedness, listening, empathy. They have intercultural competencies that make them better understand others, be more inclusive, and become change makers against stereotyping, hate speeches, racism, and discrimination. UNESCO developed story circles, an accessible methodology, structured yet adaptable, that helps participants practice key aspects of intercultural competencies.
We have always told stories as a way to connect. Circles, or talking circles, have a long tradition in many cultures as a way to engage with one another. Story circles help participants to connect deeply and meaningfully across differences, whether within a society or across borders, helping us find common humanity. They have been used all over the world in countless settings, such as in healthcare, with youth, in classrooms, in local communities, with refugees, and with indigenous populations.
It takes 4 to 6 people to hold a story circle. Participating is simple. Just be yourself and share from your own experience. You'll find out that every person has a story to share, and that we all have something to learn from others. This is what brings us together.
Ready to practice key skills in connecting with others? Want to help bridge divides? Join a story circle and experience our shared humanity in building a better world together.
So you can have now, with this video, a general idea about the methodology. Let me just say that the video is also available on the YouTube channel of UNESCO in French and Spanish also, and very soon to be also in Arabic. And this methodology, it was published in the Manual for Developing Intercultural Competencies, that is a manual that explains people how to use it, and that is also available in French, Spanish, and Arabic, and English. And we will have very soon also a Chinese version and a Russian version. So we have all the 6 official languages of UNESCO. And we thought that it would be a very good idea to have this methodology published in a manual, but we have to go further, and we wanted to avoid the situation that the manual and the book be a very good book that will stay in the library. So this is why we start to train people to become facilitators of this methodology. And we started this before publishing the manual in the several pilots that we did in different regions of the world. So you can see some photos in the SharePoint, because we did pilots in Zimbabwe, in Austria, we did also in Costa Rica, in Bangkok, and in Tunisia, that is in the Mediterranean region. And the results of these pilots are published in the manual. And after we started, we continued this work, in fact, to scale up the methodology. And we had also the opportunity to do other trainings in the Mediterranean region, in France, when we launched the French version, and also in Egypt. And also now we are doing online trainings that I will talk a little bit more about later. So story circles can be adapted can be used, as you can see, in different settings, like schools, communities, international development, religious organizations, and professional trainings. And when we talk professional trainings, of course, we are talking also about media professionals and journalists. And this intercultural methodology is simple, but at the same time is very structured. As you saw, we need just to have 4 to 6 participants. It's very simple because we don't need any special material or place. We just need people that be engaged to talk about their personal histories. But of course, we have some rules that guide the story circles that have to be followed, so to be successful, that you are going to see. And today, we can attest that this is a very successful methodology because we have training more than 600 people around the world. And as I said, we are doing online training also because we understood with the COVID that we could not do what we intended, that it was to start to implement multi-stakeholder trainings at sub-regional level. We have to step back during the COVID pandemic. And this is why we developed our online training. And as I say, it was a very unintended consequence of the methodology, but a very happy one, because we see also that it works very well online. And one of these online trainings that we did, for example, it was with the Annalyn Foundation, with the young people of the Mediterranean region. And every time that we work with young people, we are very, very surprised because they understand very well what is important after the training to develop empathy, listening, to understand. And these are the skills that we propose people to develop, to demonstrate respect, to have a listening for understanding, to cultivate curiosity, to have a more cultural self-awareness, to develop empathy. Empathy is essential if you want to people to be more open toward us. And of course, in the end, we just ask people to train their critical reflection in a kind of way and try to see the different perspectives as a richness for our humanity. You are going to see in another slide that we have these positive feedbacks are reflected in the evaluations that we have in the manual, the palettes that we developed. We also now are enlarging the assessment of the methodology. This is a working process, but in a kind of way, it reflects the first feedback that we received from the pilots that we organized. I wanted to share with you something that was said by one participant of the Annalyn Foundation, that he said, the stereotypes of racism and discrimination are fundamentally due to the fact that we only see one side of the history. So some of us can see the whole and the true picture of something. By promoting certain values such as mutual understanding and active listening, we can be the soft power against racism and discrimination. Therefore, in the framework of the project that we do with the Story Circles methodology that's called Building Resilience through the Development of Intercultural Competencies, we are training new facilitators online in presence to become familiar with the Story Circles and assure the sustainability of the methodology. Once they have received the training, they are able to train beneficiaries of their own. And we are creating also at the same time a community of practice, so people can share in a platform, online platform, the best practice. If they have some questions regarding the use of the methodology, they can come back to us, and we are also giving to them some complementary material, like a video, like some tips for use online trainings and so on. So this community of practice is the best way that we found to keep this network of facilitators alive. So Story Circles is a very simple and humble response to the challenges related to cultural diversity in a context where no single country can act alone to face issues such as global migration and displacement, the current social and sanitary crisis, climate change, like violent extremism. And I think this is a very, very powerful also methodology that we also intend to use more with the media professionals and journalists. Let me just say that we were preparing a training for trainees for Sudan, that was dedicated was supposed to be dedicated to journalists and media professionals, because they are really key actors if you wanted to build stability and peace in the country. But of course, you can imagine that we have to postpone this activity in face of the last events that took place in the country. But we really hope that we are going to continue to do the Story Circles and enlarge it more and more for media professionals, for people in the Euro-Mediterranean region. And also that we are going to apply more with journalists and media professionals, because they are very important to spread this message of the importance of intercultural dialogue and interreligious dialogue as a guarantee of the respect of the cultural diversity. It is the spirit that I thank again the COPEAM for giving us the opportunity to talk about the Story Circles methodology. And I hope that if you have an opportunity, you can consult more information on our website. Thank you very much. I will stop sharing my screen now.
Thank you, Joyce. Very, very interesting methodology. I think that such kinds of initiatives are essential to promote interculturalism, especially among the new generations, not only in the Euro-Mediterranean region, but worldwide. And it's also important to promote tools based on creating empathy and stimulating critical thinking among the new generations. So thank you very much for this witness. It's very interesting. I invite all the attendees to deepen this methodology on the UNESCO's website. So now we go back to French. On revient en français. À remercier encore une fois Joyce Montero. Donc, nous sommes très heureux maintenant de vous présenter des bonnes pratiques qui proviennent bien au-delà de la Méditerranée. En fait, grâce au partenariat de la COPEAM avec le réseau des télévisions latino-américaines Red-Tal, nous avons aujourd'hui Madame Cielo Saviolo, directrice de la chaîne argentine pour enfants PakaPaka, qui va nous montrer 2 épisodes de 2 séries animées. Si on se rencontre, on croit. If we meet, we grow. Et Ma famille. Cielo, gracias. The floor is yours.
Well, good morning from Argentina. Thank you for this invitation. It's an honor and a pleasure to be part of this annual conference, sharing and having the chance to share our experience on behalf of PakaPaka and also on behalf of TAL, which is As you said, Latin American network of public TV stations we are part of. I'm going to share my screen. I need to be able to do it. I am disabled. I'm still disabled. I'm going to. No, I think that the function to share my screen is disabled. Okay, now it's okay. Just let me know if you are seeing the presentation, please. Okay?
That's okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So first, let me introduce PakaPaka, which is the first public TV channel for kids in Argentina. Our main target audience is between 3 and 9 years old. We are 11 years old, and since we start working, we are part of the Latin American TV public station, TAL. PakaPaka is a space for playing, for discovering, imagining, learning through different narratives, characters, aesthetics, and stories. We think of PakaPaka as a screen that invites children to ask themselves questions that arouses curiosity and promotes the knowledge in a very innovative way. And PakaPaka as well conceives boys and girls as citizens and builders and thinkers of their own reality. We invite kids to express themselves while we respect all the time their difference and particularity. But PakaPaka is not only a TV screen. We think of PakaPaka as a cultural project. We have the TV screen with 20 hours of programming, but we are also in the field. We have events, shows, festivals. We have a line of toys and games. We also have a line of books, and we have a strong work on the digital media. We have apps, a website, games, and a very strong presence in the social networks. And diversity is one of the main concepts that crosses the whole programming and project we deliver. Sometimes we work with diversity as a topic, but it's always an accent. I mean that sometimes we can design and produce a series or a project which diversity is the main topic in the main content, but it's always a process, it's always an axis that crosses the whole programming and every project we design. We are always taking into account that we are working and talking to a wide range of diverse families and kids. And we approach diversity from the perspective of inclusion. That means also that we work with diversity linked to the right of identity. We want to talk with the kids about the right of being what they want to be. And we are always, of course, talking that their wishes, their families, their towns, their countries, their stories are part of the right of being what they want to be and part of the right of their own identity. And in terms of the identity and the representation, PakaPaka, we consider PakaPaka as a place where every kid must feel represented. That means that their experiences, their voices, their opinions, their interests and points of view can be represented in many ways. Can be represented in a story, in a content, in a character, in an aesthetic, of course, and in a landscape or a question. We have many, many tools to represent diversity and to give all the kids that go to our programming to have the opportunity to feel represented in one of those different resources. And of course, that means, as I mentioned, to consider diversity in many ways and points of view. We consider diversity related to gender, to religion, to cultures, and of course, to social and economic contexts. And I'm going to share with you two experiences. This is the last one we did in 2020, which is a project we call When We Meet, We Grow. It was a campaign designed with the International Organization for Migration and UNICEF in Argentina, with the purpose of making visible the inclusion of migrant children and their ways of connecting to their own cultures through their bond with other kids. Let me say that Argentina has an historical, a very strong moving of migrant families especially from bordering countries. The campaign celebrates the diversity and the integration of different cultures in our country from the perspective of the child, which was the main challenge. We wanted to highlight the importance of the meeting of cultures as a way of knowing, discovering, and sharing what each child carries from their own culture and how it helps them to build their own identity. Each of the animated short films, I'm going to share one with you, approaches migrant kids' experiences from different countries and brings into play, which was the challenge, the discovery of customs, habits, and celebrations of their cultures. Narrated by boys and girls from different countries, such as Bolivia, Mexico, Colombia, Brazil, or Venezuela. Each film proposed a theme which is linked to something important for the culture. Games, sports, food, dances, and celebrations, but always from the perspective of the child. And shows that sharing these experiences with others builds the sense of community. And I'm going to show you one of these short films. Just let me know if the sound is okay. I may stop just to know. It's okay?
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, thank you.
Sofía me está ayudando a poner el altar para festejar el Día de Muertos. Se asustó un poquitito cuando le conté que durante la celebración las almas regresan del más allá a visitar a sus familias. Le expliqué que es solo una manera de recordar con alegría a los seres queridos que ya no están con nosotros. Armamos una puerta con flores y prendimos incienso para guiar a los visitantes a su camino. Pusimos agua para calmar la sed de tan largo viaje. Encendimos velas, comimos calaveritas de azúcar y nos maquillamos para el festejo. En Argentina no se celebra el Día de Muertos, pero Sofía me dijo que el próximo 2 de noviembre va a poner un altar en su casa para recordar a su abuelito. ¡Feliz Día de Muertos! ¡Sí, sí! ¡Viva esa cultura!
So each of the short films, as I explained, try to find a situation that could be bring into play and contribute to make a sense of community between the meeting of two different cultures. And the other project is My Family, which was one of the very first projects we designed in the very beginning of the channel. My Family is also a series of short animated films that portray different ways of being a family, with the purpose of inviting children to recognize their own family and discover that there are other ways of being a family as well. And the series deals with a wide range of diverse families and consider as well the cultural, the social, the economic, and the religious backgrounds. With this project, we wanted to highlight the importance of recognizing different kinds of families portraying a variety of family situations, moments, and even crises from a point of view of the child. That's why the series deal with losses, disabilities, travels, moving, divorce, for example, migration and poverty, among other things, and show how different families go through each of these situations in different ways. And I'm going to show you and share one of these chapters.
Cielo?
So thank you very much. I, of course, remain at your disposal, and you can find more information in our website.
Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup, Cielo. On a eu de petits problèmes d'audio, toujours dus bien évidemment à la connexion. Nous devons remercier tout particulièrement Madame Saviolo pour être avec nous, malgré en Argentine, il est matin tôt. Donc, de l'autre hémisphère du monde, on peut s'attendre aussi de petits problèmes de connexion. Quand même, ça va très bien. Nous avons tout vu et tout compris grâce aux sous-titres en anglais aussi. Maintenant, nous passons et concluons cette séance de l'après-midi avec le dueño de la casa, le patron de la boîte, le patron de la maison, c'est-à-dire la RAI. Et avec disons, un programme télé fleuron de l'histoire de coopération en Méditerranée. Il s'agit du magazine Mediterraneo, qui est un magazine historique coproduit par la RAI, et notamment par la TGR, qui est la direction de l'information régionale, et par France 3. La télévision espagnole TVE a été parmi les coproducteurs initiaux jusqu'à 2006 et a tout récemment rejoint à nouveau le partenariat. Le magazine est actuellement à sa 30e saison et continue de traiter depuis 1993 des questions politiques, sociales, culturelles et environnementales de toute la région méditerranéenne, toujours suivant le rythme des transformations, des tensions sociales, des migrations et des processus d'intégration des différentes cultures de cet espace. Au fil des années, un grand nombre de diffuseurs publics de dérives de la Méditerranée ont diffusé Mediterraneo, qui a même dépassé les limites du bassin pour se faire connaître jusqu'en Amérique latine grâce à Espavision et dans les pays du Golfe grâce à l'ASBU. Donc, comme vous pouvez le voir, disons, dans l'image à l'écran, au long des années, il a été diffusé en Italie par Remed et Rai 3, par France 3, par RTSI, par la RT grecque, par la télévision de Slovénie, etc. Donc vraiment une diffusion à 360 degrés dans tous les bassins et au-delà. Et alors, pour vous donner un aperçu de ce programme sans précédent, nous allons vous proposer un bref collage, là aussi, de quelques épisodes récents réalisés par la RAI entre 2019 et 2021 et qui racontent des histoires humaines. Donc, l'île de Salina, en Sicile, où une communauté marocaine installée il y a 25 ans et aujourd'hui parfaitement intégrée dans la société locale, puis un groupe de jeunes palestiniens de deuxième génération vivant à Rome qui transfèrent leurs traditions, danse, nourriture à des copains et copines italiens. L'histoire d'une guitare unique dans son genre, parce qu'elle a été réalisée avec le bois des bateaux des migrants aboutis à Lampedusa et qui a été jouée par des artistes internationaux tels que Santana et Patti Smith. Ou les lettres venues du monde. Durant la pandémie, des femmes de différentes nationalités, Turquie, Italie, Grèce, etc., ont laissé en suspens des pensées, invitant d'autres femmes à les compléter. L'initiative a recueilli de dizaines d'adhésions et ces pensées sans frontières seront bientôt l'objet d'un livre. Bonne vision.
Tutto il mondo intero significa una famiglia. Dio tua, Dio mio. Tutto figlio di Adamo e Eva. Eva tua, Eva mia. Adamo tua, Adamo mia. L'Abramo tua, l'Abramo mia. Musa tua, Musa mia. Maria tua, Maria mia. Giusto tua, Giusto mia.
La bellezza inconfondibile della Palestina rivive in Italia, merito di un gruppo di circa 40 ragazzi di seconda generazione che hanno deciso di riproporre ai coetanei di Roma colori e sapori, musiche e danze della loro terra.
L'idea è proprio questa, di dare voce a chi voce non ha. E il nome è stato scelto insieme ad un amico che ha studiato arabo a Roma, che è Bahar al-Wazar, che è letteralmente il mare che sta nel mezzo, Mediterraneo, insomma, il mare che divide l'Africa dall'Europa. La musica non ha confini, non esiste la purezza nella musica moderna, è tutta una contaminazione fra un paese e l'altro.
Vorrei abbracciare la madre che mi ha amata, che dietro alla sua allegria celava tristezza.
L'appuntamento ogni mattina in queste giornate sospese della quarantena, tutti chiusi in casa. Da una sponda all'altra del Mediterraneo, flagellate dalla pandemia. Da Istanbul, dove si registra il 60% dei casi di contagio della penisola dell'Anatolia, Mine Turkili, giornalista e scrittrice turca, scrive una frase mancante da cui partire per annotare sensazioni, umori, paura. Dall'altro lato della riva del Mediterraneo, qui tra gli scaffali della libreria ereditata dal nonno, Marilia Di Giovanni, ad Ortigia, nel cuore del centro storico di Siracusa, coordina il gruppo di scrittura italiano per raccontare le esperienze personali nei giorni di riposo forzato.
Donc, juste un aperçu de ce que ce programme, je le répète, historique, unique en Méditerranée au niveau de coopération télévisuelle peut nous offrir. Bravo Guillaume pour ce montage, d'ailleurs, notre collègue Guillaume Ortieu-Campion. Et je voudrais remercier tous les participants à cette 28e édition de la conférence annuelle de la COPEAM. Je voudrais remercier la RAI avec toute l'équipe des relations internationales et affaires publiques. Et je voudrais remercier notre secrétaire général Claudio Cappon, mais surtout, excusez-moi, je vais remercier mes collègues, l'équipe de la COPEAM, qui on ne peut pas faire sans. Je suis émue, excusez-moi, mais c'est vraiment le trésor de la COPEAM. Merci.